Have you ever wondered if there are places on Earth that completely defy everything we know about physics, geology, and basic logic? Well, buckle up because I'm about to take you on a journey to 10 locations that make even the smartest scientists scratch their heads in complete bewilderment. These aren't just quirky tourist spots or urban legends. These are real places where the laws of nature seem to have taken a permanent vacation. Friends, write in the comments where you're watching us from and hit that like button if you want to discover what's most surprising and unexpected. Let me start with something that will literally make your jaw drop. Imagine a place where gravity works backwards. The mystery spot in Santa Cruz, California, looks like an ordinary patch of redwood forest, but step inside this 150-foot diameter circle and your world turns upside down. Balls roll uphill, people lean at impossible angles without falling, and your height actually changes depending on where you stand. Now, skeptics will tell you it's just an optical illusion, but here's the thing that makes scientists uncomfortable. Compasses spin wildly here. Metal objects behave strangely, and even trees grow at bizarre angles, leaning toward the center of this mysterious zone. Scientists have measured gravitational anomalies, magnetic field disturbances, but they still can't fully explain why this tiny patch of Earth refuses to follow the rules. But that's just the beginning. Let me tell you about a place in Romania where stones literally grow like living creatures. The Trovants of Costesti aren't your typical rocks. They actually increase in size, reproduce, and even move on their own. I'm not talking about some slow geological process that takes millions of years. Witnesses have photographed these stones, doubling in size within decades. When it rains, these mysterious stones absorb the mineral-rich water and literally grow, sometimes sprouting smaller stones like some kind of rock offspring. Local geologists are baffled because the stones contain a cemented sand core, but that doesn't explain their organic-like behavior. Some of these Trovants weigh several tons, yet villagers swear they've seen them migrate across fields overnight, leaving trails in the soil like giant stone snails. Now let's talk about something that will completely mess with your understanding of sound and physics: the singing sand dunes of the Sahara Desert. Picture this. You're walking across what seems like an ordinary sand dune when suddenly the ground beneath your feet starts humming like a massive orchestra. These dunes produce deep, haunting musical notes that can be heard for miles, ranging from low bass hums to high-pitched whistles. Scientists have recorded these sounds and discovered they match specific musical frequencies. But here's the kicker. Different dunes sing in different keys. Some theories suggest it's caused by sand grains of specific sizes rubbing together, but that doesn't explain why only certain dunes sing, while identical-looking ones remain silent. Marco Polo wrote about these singing sands over 700 years ago, describing voices of spirits and demons calling from the desert depths. But here's where things get really weird. In Kazakhstan, there's a lake that changes colors more dramatically than a mood ring having an identity crisis. Lake Balkhash is split right down the middle. One half is fresh water that's crystal blue, while the other half is salty and ranges from green to pink to yellow. What makes this absolutely mind-boggling is that these two completely different bodies of water exist in the same lake with only a narrow strait connecting them. The western part behaves like a normal freshwater lake, supporting typical fish populations and maintaining consistent blue coloration. But cross that invisible boundary to the eastern section, and you enter an alien world where the water chemistry defies logical explanation. The salt concentration here is so intense that it creates these surreal color shifts depending on the season, temperature, and mineral content mixing in ways scientists still can't predict. Friends, write in the comments where you're watching us from and hit that like button if you want to find out what's the most surprising and unexpected thing. Locals have lived near this lake for generations, and they tell stories of the water spirits that paint the lake different colors based on their moods. But science offers no satisfying explanation for why this natural boundary exists so perfectly, or why the colors change so dramatically and unpredictably. Speaking of water mysteries, let me take you to Romania, where there's a forest that makes horror movie directors weep with envy. The Hoia Baciu forest near Cluj-Napoca has been called the most haunted forest on Earth. And after you hear what happens there, you might agree. Trees grow in impossible spirals and curves, as if some invisible force has been twisting them like pretzels for decades. There's a perfect circle in the center of the forest, where absolutely nothing grows, not a single blade of grass, not even weeds. Soil tests reveal nothing unusual about this dead zone, yet plants refuse to take root there, creating this eerie natural amphitheater of emptiness. But here's where rational thinking gets thrown out the window. People report electronic devices going haywire the moment they enter this forest. Cameras capture mysterious light orbs, phones lose signal completely, and GPS systems start giving directions to places that don't exist on any map. A 5-year-old girl disappeared in this forest in 1968 and emerged 5 years later wearing the exact same clothes with no memory of where she'd been. She hadn't aged a single day, her clothes weren't dirty or worn, and she had no explanation for the missing time. It was as if she'd been frozen in some temporal bubble. Military personnel have documented UFO sightings above the forest canopy, with photographs showing disc-shaped objects hovering over the twisted trees. Scientists have measured electromagnetic anomalies throughout the forest, but they can't explain what's causing these readings or why they're so concentrated in this specific location. Now let's travel to Australia, where there's a rock formation that completely defies our understanding of physics and geology. Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, isn't just big, it's impossibly big, extending 6 kilometers underground like a massive iceberg of solid stone. But here's the mind-bending part. This entire monolith is actually a single piece of rock that somehow tilted 90 degrees from its original horizontal position. Geologists estimate this massive stone slab was somehow flipped on its side millions of years ago, but they have no idea what force could possibly accomplish such a feat. The Aboriginal people have sacred stories about this rock that go back over 40,000 years, describing cosmic events and earth-shaking transformations that sound remarkably similar to what geologists theorize happened. But the mystery deepens when you consider that this rock changes color throughout the day in ways that can't be explained by simple light refraction. At sunrise, it glows like molten copper. At midday, it appears almost white, and at sunset, it burns like a massive ember against the darkening sky. Spectral analysis of the rock surface shows mineral compositions that should produce consistent coloration, yet somehow this ancient monolith continues to paint itself different shades. Visitors report feeling inexplicable emotional responses when approaching the rock. Some break down in tears, others feel overwhelming joy, and many describe a sense of coming home. But perhaps the most unsettling mystery lies in the Pacific Ocean, where there's an underwater formation that shouldn't exist according to everything we know about marine geology. Off the coast of Japan lies the Yonaguni Monument, a series of perfectly carved terraces, steps, and geometric shapes that look like an ancient underwater city. These aren't natural rock formations worn smooth by ocean currents. These are precise 90-degree angles, perfect steps, and deliberate geometric patterns carved with mathematical precision. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura has spent over 20 years studying this site, and he's convinced these structures were carved by human hands at least 12,000 years ago. But here's the problem. 12,000 years ago, this area was above sea level, which means whoever built these structures had advanced stone-cutting technology before the end of the last ice age. That completely rewrites human history, suggesting advanced civilizations existed thousands of years before we thought humans developed such sophisticated building techniques. Skeptics argue these could be natural formations, but they can't explain the tool marks visible on the stone surfaces or the perfect symmetry of the structures. The monument includes what appears to be a massive head carved from solid rock, complete with facial features that have remained intact despite thousands of years underwater. As we reach the end of our journey through these 10 places that science can't explain, one pattern emerges clearly. Our planet holds secrets that challenge everything we think we know. From the impossible precision of the Nazca Lines to the underwater cities of Yonaguni, from the singing sands of the Sahara to the color-changing lakes of Kazakhstan. These places remind us that mystery and wonder still exist in our modern world. Perhaps the most unsettling realization is that despite all our advanced technology, satellites, and scientific instruments, these places continue to guard their secrets jealously. They stand as humbling reminders that human knowledge has limits and that our planet still has the power to surprise, mystify, and completely baffle even our brightest minds. The next time someone tells you that science has explained everything, remember these 10 places where the laws of physics seem to take a coffee break and reality itself appears to be playing by entirely different rules.